our final formal presser of the afternoon, in this block anyway, with the driver of the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford. And that is the reigning series champion, Joey Logano. Joey, going to open up with a little bit of a different question. NASCAR Salutes kicks off this weekend, refreshed by Coca-Cola. And I know I see you drinking one right now. Can you talk about this weekend and NASCAR's military appreciation through these 2 months here?
Yeah, honestly, this is some of my favorite times of the year to be able to do that, especially when you come here for the Coca-Cola 600 and what this weekend really means. And it's a good reminder for us because I think a lot of times we think of Memorial Day weekend, and if you're in this industry, sometimes you think of 3 really big races that are happening this weekend. But for me, I think it's a good reminder, and Charlotte does a great job. The Speedway here does a great job at reminding all of us how we get to do that safely. And the only reason why we get to do that safe is because of our men and women in the military that's fighting for our freedom in the past or now. That is the reason why we are here, sitting here today, and we should all feel blessed and lucky to be here and live in this great country. Whether you like our leadership or not, I don't think it matters. I really believe it's just all about us being united together, and we're pretty strong when we can do that. So this is a great weekend for all of us to remember that and have the opportunity to shake the military members' families and all of them and say thank you, shake their hands. Just to me, I almost wish this happened 2 or 3 times a year, because I feel like sometimes as a country we need to do this more often.
Great. Thank you, Joey. If you have a question for Joey, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic. We'll start with Kelly.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Joey, take us into your experience yesterday of being able to vote for the 2020 Hall of Fame class. How did it feel to be in that room, go through that experience, and will you tell us who was on your ballot?
So it was really neat. I felt a little out of place, to be honest with you. There was some really legends in that room and some real Hall of Famers that have been around for a long time. And, I really enjoyed that part, and listening to everybody's, reasoning when everyone has the opportunity to stand up and say why they think a particular person belongs in the Hall of Fame, and everyone has different reasonings of why, and you kind of have that discussion between everybody, and it's very formal. It's not like you just say something. It's you raise your hand, get a microphone, talk about it, what you want to say about them, and things like that. And that was really interesting to hear everybody's perspective, because there's a few members on the ballot that I knew, right, that I raced against or knew personally, but there's also quite a few that I never met and I never had the chance to watch racing and things like that. So, for me, that perspective was important for me when I was filling out, who my votes were going to be. So, I'd say pretty much all but one made it onto the into the Hall of Fame that I voted for. So that's pretty cool. So I was impressed by all that. I thought it was neat. Just the whole discussion was fun, and then afterwards, everyone just kind of hangs out. And anytime I talked to Richard Petty for 15 minutes, and anytime you get to do that, that's just a cool feeling, right? So I'm still a race fan at heart, so I kind of took a moment to enjoy it.
Go up here to Greg in the front row.
Hey, Joey. Greg Engel, Auto Week. You got to spend some time around history yesterday and legends and tradition and all that. There's some that say that NASCAR does not need a 600-mile race. Do you agree or disagree with that, and why?
This is a special race. This is the Coca-Cola 600. It's been around for a very long time. You keep it. I mean, that's what makes this so special. It makes it unique. It makes it different. Does every other race need to be 500 miles? Probably not. Maybe certain ones, the iconic ones, need to be. This is an iconic race. It's 600 miles. That's what makes it special. That's what makes it a crown jewel event. Yeah, you keep it 600 miles. That's a no-brainer. I get mad when someone asks me that question. It's a no-brainer. That's what makes this. I'm not mad at you. I know other people are asking. Don't take it the wrong way. But I'm just saying that that is the heritage of this event, and you can't change that. Yep.
We'll stay up front here to Caleb.
Caleb Whistler, KickingTheTires.net. Joey, you're doing the drivers only broadcast tomorrow, and you do some stuff on Sirius with TMD. What attracts you to doing this radio and TV broadcasting? What has been some of the challenges you faced doing that?
For me, I enjoy doing it. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's kind of my way to give back to the sport. We talked about this as far as Hall of Famers yesterday in there, and my only comments that I had is I felt like the definition of a Hall of Famer is somebody that gives more than they take. And if you have the opportunity to give back to your sport and try to make your sport bigger, right? Instead of just being a race car driver and driving in circles, taking your check and driving home and never doing anything else, that to me doesn't define somebody that belongs in the Hall of Fame. And I think everyone agreed with that there, but I'm not saying I'm a Hall of Famer at all in any way. Don't take that the wrong way, but I feel like those are the things I'm supposed to do to try to gain interest into our more interest into our sport than what there already is. And that's one of the few ways that I've found to do things, and it's good for the brand of NASCAR. It's good for Joey Logano's brand, right? It's just it's a good way to get my personality out there and who I am, because a lot of times everyone's perspective or who they think I am personally, when you see an interview when I first get out of the car, it's a lot different than when you have a moment to relax and you're talking and you're not wearing a race suit, you're wearing your jeans and you're having a good time. Then all of a sudden it's a different person. It's like that for every driver too. So it gives you a good opportunity to kind of show that side of you as well. What are some of the challenges? I used to get nervous about it because I didn't want to say the wrong thing, and then I realized just be you, and it's way easier and a lot of fun. And I just kind of lose a little bit of the filter and just be who I am, which is great. I think that's a fun part about it. There's some challenges when you're maybe Saturday when we're on TV. Probably the hardest piece for me is when you're talking and you have someone in your ear and you're trying to listen while you're trying to put a thought out, and they're counting you down to how much time you actually have to get what you're saying out. And you start kind of rambling, or you start going, you kind of, because you're trying to listen, but you forgot what you were saying. It becomes a disaster. That's probably my hardest, thing to get through sometimes. But I honestly will say being an analyst is maybe one of the easier parts for me, because I do it, so I really know what I'm looking at. So to be able to just talk about what I see is simple. It's the TV stuff that makes it hard. Just the way everyone's supposed to work together. How some of our TV partners, how they can bring it back from commercial and send it back, and do that so smooth. That's where the true professionals can do that really, really good.
Put a Woody in the middle here.
Woody came with MRN. Joey, I know we got a little bit of a look at it last year at Pocono, even though it was apples and oranges with the Xfinity cars running those drag ducts. So curious to get your best guess as to what this cup package might do there.
Well, it's the longest straightaway in NASCAR. That's what I know every time I go there. That's what they say. So you have a long time to draft down the front straightaway, and really down Long Pond straightaway. You have a long time for the cars to suck up to each other before you get into the corners. So I don't really know what to expect. I expect restarts to be nuts. The amount of time, it's always nuts as it is, because you have so long from the start finish line to turn one. Well, now you kind of have more time. It's the same distance, but you're going slower, so you have more time for all those moves to be played out as you get into turn one before everything kind of funnels in. And you have to funnel in as much, because we won't be going as fast. Maybe we can hold it, wide open through turn one. Probably can if you're towards the front, but not towards the back. That momentum piece of how you get off the corner. If you have a little mistake off of turn three or off of turn one, Yeah, they're going to be passing you like you're sitting still, and you're just going to be, your hands are going to be tied. There's nothing you can do at that point. So making the right decisions about what is best for at the end of the straightaway, not necessarily off of the corner, is going to be what we have to think about, and it's going to evolve throughout the race. And that's what's been happening all year, right? Sometimes the lanes that work the first few runs of the race on restarts changes after the second restart or third restart, where everybody has now seen it. Now you have to evolve and try something different. It's going to be the same thing when we get to Pocono, but maybe even more extreme.
Mark?
I've got a couple of questions. Mark Arrow, PRN. A moment ago, you talked about, well, that doesn't mean that I feel like I belong in the Hall of Fame, but facts are that given what you've done and, of course, winning a Cup championship, you're destined for the Hall of Fame. Did you have any thoughts about that while you were going through that process as you watched it play out?
I didn't, because I guess I feel like I'm still in the sport and I haven't achieved everything I want to achieve. So I want to keep that rolling. I don't know, and quite a few years from now, I would hope that I can get what I think is a Hall of Fame material. I'm getting closer, inch by inch, but the good thing is I got a long ways to go in my career. I'm still pretty young, so I got quite a few years to reach what I want to do. But like I said, just really, it was an honor to be in the room and just be around those people and to see how the decision making goes, because it's interesting what people think Hall of Fame means, and it's different for each person, whether you believe the premier level means a lot, or somebody that's won a ton of short track races, racing a late model or modified, or what that is. It was interesting to hear everybody's perspective on what defines Hall of Famer, and that was fun for me, really, to see that. And we all have a different take on it. I'm sure everyone in here has a different take on it, but it was fun to listen to.
My other question was, you were talking about how long the front stretch was at Pocono. Your teammate Ryan Blaney joked last week that sometimes it feels so long you can pack a lunch, have something to eat. Is it ham and cheese sandwich long, or is it just a little protein bar long? How do you look at that front stretch at Pocono?
I don't have time for. He must be really good, because I don't have time to do any of that in there. You might be going down the straightaway, but you're still racing. Right? There's cars around you. You're getting your run on the car in front of you. You're thinking about how you're going to get through the corner. Maybe you're side by side. You're side drafting. There's a car behind you. Maybe if you're side drafting, it's going to go 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide. There is a lot of racing down the straightaways these days with this 550 package. There's a lot going on all the time, to where you really don't get a moment to just chill. Right? There's no moment for that. You're constantly, just like Daytona and Talladega, you're constantly in the mirror looking around, trying to figure out how do you position yourself best to get through the next corner ahead of the car that's behind you or in front of you. So, I feel like mentally these days are maybe more straining than ever, trying to pass cars. Physically, it might not be as much because you have more time down the straightaway where you're not like working and sawing on the wheel, but mentally you have to be more engaged, I think, than ever.
Steve?
Joey, Steve Reed from the Associated Press. Joe Gibbs going into the Hall of Fame. You were talking about the Hall of Fame. I mean, what are the qualities that have allowed him to get to that point from being around him?
I think when you think of the qualities of Joe Gibbs, man, where do you start? Right? There's a lot. There's a reason he's a champion in multiple sports. There's a reason why he's now in the Hall of Fame of multiple sports. That doesn't happen often. I think there's only one other person that's been in the Hall of Fame, 2 Hall of Fames, maybe not the NASCAR one, but there's 2 different ones, in 2 different sports, and that's an amazing accomplishment to be able to do that. But his leadership is probably what that all stems from, right? I mean, that's what he is. He's a leader. He's a great coach in football, and he's been a great coach in NASCAR, and putting together a great team, right? It's all about people when it comes to this level. And he's done a great job at finding great talent, putting them together, and then you see success because of it. Obviously, they have the parts and the pieces that go along with that, but we can all buy parts and pieces. Someone's got to run the machine, right? And that's the part that's the most challenging sometimes to figure out. So, his leadership, his faith, what he does for our sport outside of owning a race team, I think those are the biggest things to where he was, in my opinion, he was a shoo-in. I'm pretty sure, I'd be surprised if it wasn't on everybody's voting sheet at that point. We didn't have to talk much about him. We just kind of all said, yeah, he's in, right? What else is there to say?
Deb?
Deb Williams, RacingToday.com. To kind of follow up on the NASCAR Hall of Fame, with you being there yesterday and experiencing that, did that make you want to learn more about the history of this sport or possibly change your perspective on the history of the sport?
I feel like I try to learn as much as I can already, that I really like learning about it. What I probably enjoy the most is just hanging out around some of the retired racers or of any sort, or track promoters from back then, or whoever, right? And just hearing their stories, because that's as much fun as anything. I think our TV partners do a great job at putting some specials out every now and again. Did you see that they air usually during rain delays? That's the best time to watch some of those. And those are a lot of fun to watch and hear their stories. But when you hear them firsthand, that's a very special opportunity not many race fans get to experience, right? When you hear some of the stories that they went through when they were racing. And those are the most fun moments for me in those situations.
Okay, we just have time for a couple more. We'll go Brian, Chris, and we'll end it with Kelly.
Joey, Brian Nelson with the Motor Racing Network. Last week in the All-Star event, it seemed like the racing was pretty physical. Cars getting into each other. And it seemed like very little consideration given to what the possible aerodynamic consequences might be. Is that something that might carry over into other races with the higher downforce package? And then how do you manage the risk when you're getting that physical?
Did you watch Kansas? It's the same thing. That's what this rules package is kind of promoted, is that we're so close to each other, and to be able to clear someone or to really put yourself in the position you need to, sometimes you got to make those aggressive moves, whether it's an aggressive block, maybe you pushing someone by, maybe you find yourself 4 wide like they did down the front. I didn't think that was possible. It really kind of wasn't, but they got through it somehow down the front straightaway here at Charlotte. So, a lot of it is the rules package. We'll see that continue. The other piece, though, is just the all-star race, and you have nothing to lose, and everyone says, for lack of better words, they say, screw it, I'm going for it. This is what it's about. I'm going for the win. And second doesn't mean anything to me. And I know that's my attitude. I'm pretty sure that's most drivers' attitudes when they get into that race, because it's an all or nothing race. That's why we pitted from 5th. And we said, well, 5th, that doesn't pay a big check. Let's give it a shot. Let's go back to 17th to see if we can pass a few cars. That's what that race is about. If that's the Coke 600, do we still make that play? I don't know. We might not. So it's just it's really a combination of those two that really makes it like that.
Go to Kelly.
Kelly Bardick, WCCB Charlotte. Joey, you talked about just the history of this race and how you don't want to see the 600-mile race go away. What would it mean to you to win this race, especially the 60th running of it?
Oh my goodness, it's this is probably, when it comes to races that I haven't won yet, the Coca-Cola 600 is probably the one that's at the top of the list for me personally as a race car driver for a few reasons. Anytime you win a Charlotte is special, because you get to celebrate with everybody here, right? Because our race teams are Ours is in Mooresville. Most of them are around in this area, to where, your family's here. Maybe some of your crew guys, their families are there. So we all get to celebrate. Victory Lane becomes really fun. But it's the Coca-Cola 600, which makes it one of the crown jewel events. That's one reason why I want to do it. I'm a Coca-Cola driver, right? Part of the racing family. That's a big piece that, you want to make sure you win for them in this thing and make sure one of their drivers wins. So, you really want to make that happen. And I noticed yesterday when I was sitting in that, Hall of Fame voting area, and one of the big stats that everyone always had up on the resume, was Coke 600 winner, right? That was something that was on there. There wasn't anything about the fall race as much as the Coca-Cola 600. That was a big deal. Daytona 500, Coke 600, maybe the Southern 500. Those were the big key races that were on their resumes that helped them get into the Hall of Fame. That's what makes this race special.
Go to Chris and then wrap up with Dustin.
ChrisKnightCatchfence.com. Joey, I was wondering if you could give a Luigi update and if there's anything that the public can do to help you.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know. Our little Luigi, I believe he's stolen, I think. We can't really put a match to anything. We put a bunch of signs up and things on social media, and we watch the cameras at our house, and you see him running around the backyard, and then you don't see him again. So not really sure what happened there. So I hope we can find him. We haven't given up hope yet, but hopefully over time someone will find it in their heart to do the right thing, and hopefully give us a call and we can find him.
He had one of those trackers, right?
He has a chip. He's microchipped, yeah.
Does it tell you?
It doesn't do GPS.
It doesn't?
No, the only way I think it works is if you go to a vet or someone that has a scanner, and they can scan it and say who the dog belongs to. So if you're getting a dog that seems a little, you're buying from someone that's a little sketchy, go get that dog scanned, because it might be someone's dog. And yeah, it's really not that funny. You really hope that someone does the right thing there and returns the dog when that happens. So it's kind of sad. We've learned that Frenchies are one of the most stolen dogs around. So yeah, it's kind of sad that someone does that, right? Because it's a member of your family, right? So it's kind of a jerk move. Hopefully we can figure it out. My wife put some stuff out in her social and some other whatever lost dog stuff. She's been on it. Believe me, we had flyers going around the neighborhood, putting them up everywhere. Hopefully something figures out eventually.
We'll wrap up with Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. I wanted to ask you a couple things. One, you mentioned just about the how mentally taxing things are, even more so now. And I'm just curious. There's so much done that there's so much you guys do through physical training. How much more have you found yourself maybe having to do? I don't know. Is it mental training or remaining mentally sharp? Not just this year, but just as your career has progressed.
I guess the biggest thing that makes me feel mentally sharp is being prepared. I don't do much mental training, like things that I never got into any of that stuff. But the more prepared I am, the more calm I am, and usually the more calm I am, the longer I can do something. So I try to know what's going on around me and not be surprised by anything. If I'm getting surprised left and right, boy, I'm going to be exhausted because I'm not going to know how to react. I'm going to keep getting beat. But if I'm in control and I know what's coming, and every move, I see what's going to happen. I see, I'm aware of my surroundings. I'm able to maintain a high level of focus for a long, long period of time. I feel like that's a trait that you learn from racing. As a kid, going from track to track, running races that get longer and longer, and you find yourself making mistakes and learning from those, and then eventually you find a way to train your mind to get into this mode that you just got this ultra focus. There's nothing going on in your life besides driving that race car in that moment. That's all you think about, and you have to find ways to get yourself at that point. Some of it is just a risk you take, right? And naturally you get to that point, right? Because a mistake is the end of the race and maybe worse. So you try to, that's almost enough to keep you focused alone. But to be able to do that for a long period of time, you have to find some ways to make you work, and it's different for everybody, I would assume.
And last thing I want to ask you is, at a lot of races, after you guys fire engines and come off pit road, obviously your pit crew will wave at you, but the 43 pit crew has waved for a number of years at the entire field. I'm curious, do you notice it? Do you wave back? Does it make you smile? Or are you at that point in the mindset that
I don't know what they're doing. What are they? They wave at everybody, and they got like this really goofy, like Forrest Gump wave going on. And it's kind of, I'm just like, what are these guys doing here? But at that point, I'm not really, I don't know, call me a jerk, but I'm not really wishing anyone luck at that point. It's all about going to win.
All right, we'll end it right there. Thank you, Joey. Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you.